Hey everybody, I thought that I would walk around my garden today. It's kind of gray outside, but it's not raining, so I thought I would just kind of walk around and show you my container garden. I live on a kind of a standard size lot, and when we moved in, we didn't have a ton of room for for raised beds. We had a asphalt pad that was poured into the backyard, and we also have grass. And I wanted vegetables. I wanted a place to raise vegetables. And so what we did is, instead of digging that pad up, that asphalt pad, we just put container pots on top of it, and it has worked out beautifully. And we've been here for about 5 years, and it's worked out great. So I'm going to just walk around the property and kind of show you what you can do with container gardening. You don't need to have a big plot of land in order to produce a ton of vegetables. We get a lot of vegetables every year. So I'm just going to walk around and show you that, and we can talk about container gardening. Okay, so this is a strawberry pot, and I have a couple of them around. Strawberries are great. They're a great ground cover, really easy to grow. This is a strawberry pot and is specifically for strawberries. I also have jasmine. Jasmine is running up this trellis here, and it makes for great shade, and it also smells really great during the summer. So that can be put in a pot as well. I've got some little strawberries here, just kind of waiting for them to get a little bit bigger, and then I'll transplant them into probably this strawberry pot right here. You can see I've already gotten some little tiny strawberries that are started. This is a raised container, and in this raised container I've got some lavender, which is really nice. It's next to a seating area in my patio, so you can smell it. This is nasturtium, and nasturtium is a really pretty little plant that actually the flowers can be used in salads. They're kind of spicy tasting, and they're very easy to grow. If you kind of walk around the area, I have a recycled pot here. It's a recycled rubber pot that I'm using to hold my hydrangea, and this hydrangea is just kind of, you can see the little buds that are coming out now. And hydrangea is a perennial, so you don't have to kind of repot it. Actually, I think I found this rubber pot by the side of the road. I keep my eyes open when I'm driving around to see what I can see out there and recycle. This is rosemary, and rosemary, you can see what a small pot it's in. It's just in a 5-gallon pot here. And rosemary is funny. It's a great herb. You can use it in all kinds of things. It doesn't really care about where it grows. It will grow pretty much anywhere. And you can kind of see like how big it's gotten. So it's gotten really big, and I've just kind of let it go. I use that for cooking a lot. As I turn around, you can kind of see this is a container area that I have kind of over by my little fountain here. And this is mint. So I've got 2 kinds of mint in here. Oregano's great. All of this can be grown in containers. As a matter of fact, mint should be grown in a container because it is invasive and it will go crazy if you put it in the ground. Got some cilantro. I grew that from seed. I do try to label the things that I put down in seed because sometimes you forget what's in there. And then I try to kind of intersperse the herbs that I have out here with flowers. The reason I do that is so that we get lots of bees and pollinating visitors that can help me pollinate my vegetables. And so I always tend to put my flowers in with my herbs. Again, we've got some thyme. Thyme does really well in a container. And so, yeah. So this is basically kind of a little container area. I've got some patio seating that's right behind it. And then I'm going to go over here. So again, I have another little container that's here. It's got some nasturtium, and it's got some sunflowers coming up. So this is just, again, some more for the pollinators. Got some tomatoes. So I always put tomatoes here. This gets a lot of sun. It's pretty important to get sun for your tomatoes. They need at least 6 hours of sun to do well. This is not in a pot, but it is in a small raised bed. And Tomatoes like to have deep roots. You can definitely do tomatoes in containers, and I'll show you over here, but they do like to have their roots dig down so that they produce a little bit more. This is a container. I've got peonies in this container, and I've also got some just mixed wildflowers. I just scatter a bunch of wildflower seed down with peonies every year. Peonies are a perennial, which means they're a bulb. They come back up every year. You no need to replant them, which is nice. And then this is basically my sort of container raised bed area on that pad that I was telling you about that was poured. And these are not very deep, and you have to kind of know which plants you can put in shallow containers and which ones need a deeper container. Herbs, this is chives. So chives, again, perennial. Most herbs are perennial here in the Northwest. A couple aren't, but chives are, and they get this beautiful flower. And this is really a container that's only about 7 inches deep. So it's a little bit wider. But it's not that deep, and some of these do just fine. This is sage, a purple sage, and you can see how crazy this thing's gone. Again, they're perennials. They come back every year. We've got some dill and some tarragon. This little tarragon, he's just getting started to grow. This again, a little 6-inch deep container. We've got kale and lettuce. It grows beautifully. You don't want too much sun on your lettuce and kale, so kind of finding a shady spot's okay in your garden. Spinach, same thing. And all of this was started from seed. So lettuce, kale, spinach, they all do really, really well from seed. They're easy to grow. And they like cooler weather. So they're a great early spring crop. Same thing again, this is lettuce. And I need to come out here and pick some of it. I grow an organic garden, so I don't put any pesticides down. I just feel like it's a good trade-off. Like, you know, you get most of it and the bugs get some of it, and that's just how it goes. Because I'd rather grow without pesticides and eat without pesticides too. This is a wildflower mix that I threw in this little short bed again. You know, it's kind of short. It's only about 6 inches there. And again, I put sort of wildflowers down to help the bees pollinate the rest of the vegetables. These are carrots, and again, this was grown from seed. The carrots, you can eat the carrot tops actually. They make you can kind of see where the carrots are coming in at the bottom here. Carrot leaves make a great pesto, and when I harvest them, I'll put that recipe on my newsletter because it's really wonderful. We've got some artichokes that are growing. This is squash. Squash does really well in a container. This is a 15-gallon container. That squash will come right over the edge and grow on the ground. Squash does not need to be in a huge piece of land to grow. It trails, so does cucumber. So you can pretty much put a cucumber or a squash in a container and have at it. Rhubarb grows well in a container. You don't eat the leaves. The leaves are actually sort of poisonous. You eat the stalk like a celery. It's actually related to celery. It's very sour, and it makes a great dessert and a preserve. We got basil coming up. Basil grows from seed very, very easily. It's a little bit cold right now. Basil takes a while, but I get it started in the spring, and then by the time summer's there, I usually have 2 harvestings of basil. And this is kind of a mixed purple basil and regular basil. And you can see, like, this guy is getting a little funky because it hasn't had enough sun. But pretty soon we'll get sun. And then we got peppers. Peppers grow really well. So this is also a tomato. So this tomato and pepper that you're looking at right there. There's a couple tomatoes and peppers. They all grow just fine in containers. Peppers and tomatoes though, they need a little bit of depth for their root. So if you go to buy containers for your peppers or tomatoes, just make sure that you've got, probably about a foot and a half for those roots to dig down, and then they'll produce like crazy. You've also got, let's see, some little baby peppers starting here, and some more peppers there. I like my peppers. This is a cucumber, and the cucumber is going to crawl up this trellis in a little bit and start producing little cucumbers. And then this back here, we've got some peas. So these are sweet peas, snap peas. We've got a pole bean, which has just started, so it hasn't started needing a pole yet. Once it does, I'll put a trellis out here to support it. And then we've got fava beans, and fava beans, you can see they're starting. You see those flowers? Those are gonna start to grow out to be fava beans. And the fava leaves are actually used in recipe as well. So we've got the fava beans growing. And again, this is just a raised bed that I put together with some scrap wood that I had. It's not very deep. It's probably about 1.5 feet deep. And I lined it with plastic liner. So got some plastic liner here and some soil. With the containers, you don't have to put any liner in because they're in a plastic pot and they do just fine. You can also add, you can also use the fabric pots. I don't have any fabric pots out here, but they're perfectly fine to use. The fabric pots, some of them are biodegradable. And so when they get old enough, you just toss them in the recycling bin, which is pretty cool. And then I've got a couple of pots that are, just not pots, but little raised beds that I made out of some scrap wood, some scrap fencing. And these are little tomato plants. They're pretty small right now. They're just from starts. My friend Ken gave me a bunch of starts, and so I just put those in the ground. We're gonna wait till they get a little bit bigger, and then I may separate them out and just have one per. But this little raised bed I made myself, and what this is just landscape fabric. So to keep the soil in place, to keep it from going all over the place, you'd line your pot with some fabric here, and then you can put the soil in. And the same thing with this. And then this is a bigger container that I just put, again, I put flowers in. So these are all wildflowers, and all of these wildflowers came from a seed packet. I think the seed packet was kind of the bigger seed packet, and I just spread it all out. And when these start blooming, it's going to attract bees and mason bees, that kind of thing. We also have a couple of mason bee hotels that we made. I'll walk over here and so you can see it. Mason bees are a pollinator that aren't as well known as honeybees or bumblebees, but they pollinate just as well. And they like to fill up, you probably have seen, they fill up little holes with mud, and then that's where they put their babies, and that's where they nest. We also made one here. You can kind of see how they're filled with mud? That's the mason bee at work, and they live there. And then they pollinate your garden. Anything with holes, you can drill holes into. This was a log that we found, and we just drilled holes into it, and they love it. So that's it. I just kind of wanted to show you my container garden, just to kind of let you know that you don't have to have a lot of land. You can put containers on asphalt. You can put containers on a porch. Wherever you have room, you can grow vegetables. And right now it's really nice to do that, because who wants to go to the grocery store right now? Nobody. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you soon.